Good morning, Acadiana. It's Tuesday, April 4th, 2021, and you're listening to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate. Their team of journalists print the stories important to our community and state, and we are happy to read you some of those stories. You can hear Local News Live Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on AOC 1, the AOC Community Media channel on YouTube, and on Cypress Street Radio at aocinc.org/CS Radio. You can find the print versions of these stories and more at theadvocate.com. We couldn't bring you this community service without the generosity of our volunteer newsreaders. Today, we're joined by Robert Richard. Welcome to Local News Live, Robert.
Good morning, Matt. Glad to be here and ready to read the news.
Well, thanks so much. I'm going to go ahead and listen on Cypress Street.
Good morning, everyone. We'll start with Acadiana News. Stretched thin. As pandemic depletes supply of EMTs, paramedics, Acadian Ambulance leans on outreach programs by Adam Daigle, Acadiana Business Editor. Daniel Hebert is only 4 months into his job at EMT Basic with Acadian Ambulance, but already he knows what pressure his employer and industry are facing when it comes to staffing. There are overtime shifts. Some employees don't like it, but it's the reality in an industry that is having significant difficulty in finding employees. Also part of that reality, off days that wind up being off days are rare. If I have an off day and I don't get called, it's kind of weird, said Hebert, who graduated from Acadiana High School in May and began with Acadian in December. It's pretty close to every day. I don't go in every day. Sometimes I do tell them no. Acadian isn't alone in its inability to find workers. Emergency medical technicians and paramedics were in high demand prior to the pandemic, but since then the demands have only escalated along with the medical needs of the communities it serves. EMTs, nurses, paramedics, and others are being pulled to places where they traditionally haven't been before, said Casey Tuchet, recruiting coordinator for Acadian. You're taking a depleted field and you're spreading it out even more, which is just crippling the ambulance service, Tuchet said. And then people burn out. You see it with nurses and doctors now in hospitals. The medical industry has been hurt so bad by this pandemic. The last year has been insane, to put it lightly, from a medical standpoint. Acadian has long employed outreach programs to recruit new high school students through its Explorer program. Hebert participated in the program, which teaches students CPR and offers skills to work alongside EMTs at events. But recruitment efforts have ramped up in recent months, including the move last month to coordinate with the NAACP to offer full scholarships for EMT training in New Orleans and other cities in the state. The initial 14-week program will fund 40 full scholarships estimated at $1,200 per student, along with testing fees and uniforms for students in New Orleans, Lake Charles, Houma, Baton Rouge, and Alexandria. The move will also help Acadian diversify its staff, CEO and Chairman Richard Zuschlag said. We believe this initiative is so much more than workforce development, Zuschlag said. This is an opportunity for caring individuals to enter a fulfilling and rewarding career in emergency medicine and care for their fellow citizens. We take great pride in being an inclusive company with a diverse workforce. Since our founding in 1971, the contributions of our African American employees have been and continue to be an integral reason for our company's growth and success. National data on the number of openings is unavailable, but pre-pandemic data did show the paramedic and EMT field was growing quickly. Data in 2019 from the Bureau of Labor Statistics indicated the number of EMT and paramedic jobs was expected to grow by 17,000. That's a 6% growth rate, which is higher than the average growth rate of 4%. This spring, Acadian will have 200 students graduating, and the company plans on hiring every single one of them, Tuchet said. Traditionally, it's been harder to get people into the profession and also retain them in the profession, said Harmony Rochon, Assistant Dean of Allied Health at South Louisiana Community College, which offers EMT and paramedic training programs in conjunction with the National EMS Academy. A lot of times people don't know much about it. Healthcare is a great field, but people see doctors and nurses and don't see the full picture of what is possible. Hopefully we are getting better, but at the same time, we're in a healthcare crisis. As these things happen, we're relying on our frontline people. We need way more of them. Acadian plans to meet with church group, ministries, and youth organizations, including classes this summer at the YMCA in Port Arthur, Texas, Tuchet said. The military is another target to try and lure employees. Acadian has begun hiring non-EMT personnel as ambulance drivers, he said. The recruiting industry has changed too, he said. It used to be they would come to us. Now we're actually having to go out and find them. We're hitting the streets hard. There's nothing we're not trying at this point. Kaylee Guidry, an EMT who also hired in December, who also came through the Explorer program, considered a career in the military when she was at Acadiana High School before graduating in 2019. She worked out of New Orleans for a month and then spent 2 weeks in Tennessee with Acadian's operation there. Much of her work has involved non-emergency transport, but she has responded to emergency situations. Once I joined the Explorer program, it changed my mind right then and there, Guidry said. I do enjoy helping people a lot, and everybody that worked for Acadian that I was around was like family. I like the family environment. The job, definitely takes someone who is 100% sure they want to do this. Hebert noted how the job has unconventional hours and how other jobs might pay more and be less stressful. He worked 7 out of 14 days as Acadiana's Hub City North Station on North University Avenue, and many of those days he's there in 12-hour shifts. Those are pretty manageable, he said. So when you get to the 10-10 or noon midnight shifts, those are the ones that are pretty hard to work through. I know people here who are married and have a couple of kids. They kind of work through it. At SLCC, Rochon said they are trying to usher more students into the program as an entry point into the healthcare field. The college could have only 40 slots for students in the nursing program with 300 applicants. The staff is trying to direct some of those students into the EMT paramedic program where there are more openings. If you want to remain a paramedic, then that's wonderful, she said. Even if I get 10% that flow through the funnel, that's amazing. I've at least got more people to help out that work for us on their way to whatever else. Lafayette officer once off desk duty. The man was fired after hog-tying a woman following arrest by Claire Taylor, staff writer. A Lafayette police officer who was placed on desk duty and relieved of SWAT duty by police officials months after the fire and police civil service board suspended him for 1 day for yanking a handcuffed, hog-tied woman from his vehicle by an ankle chain, wants the board to place him back on patrol. Jeremy Robert, represented by Lafayette attorney Allison Prejean, is asking the board at a meeting Wednesday to consider his appeal of the order placing him on desk duty, which Prejean alleges in the appeal letter deprives Robert of income from off-duty security assignments. The board will not hear the appeal Wednesday, just decide whether it will entertain the appeal at a later date. Robert arrested the woman on April 10, 2020, and placed her in the back seat of his police SUV. The woman became distraught, banging her head and feet against the door and seat in front of her. Body camera video obtained by the Acadian Advocate shows Robert eventually hog-tying the woman, chaining her handcuffs to her restrained ankles, then yanking her out of the SUV, allowing her chin to slam onto the floorboard and concrete street where she lay bleeding. The Civil Service Board suspended Robert for 1 day without pay. About 30 days later, after seeing the video of the incident, Lafayette Parish Mayor President Josh Gilry ordered then interim police chief Scott Morgan to terminate Robert for use of excessive force. Robert appealed, and the Civil Service Board unanimously overruled Gilry's termination order. Gilry filed a lawsuit asking the court to overturn the Civil Service Board's decision to overrule the firing of Robert. The lawsuit alleges the Fire and Police Civil Service Board's decision was not made in good faith or for good cause, and the court should find Gilry's action compliant with the police officer's Bill of Rights upholding Robert's termination. Prejean maintained that the firing Robert after he had already been disciplined amounts to double jeopardy because the Civil Service Board had already disciplined Robert and he had served the ordered suspension. A hearing on the lawsuit has not been scheduled. Meanwhile, Robert returned to patrol duty, serving in that capacity from September 16th until January 7th, when he was advised verbally by 3 superior officers that he was being transferred to desk duty and removed from SWAT duty, Prejean said in the appeal letter. The reason provided, she wrote, was the chief, presumably new Gilry appointee T. Glover, thought he, Officer Robert, was a liability due to the pending lawsuit. No written order or explanation was provided, despite requests, Prejean wrote. Placing Robert on desk duty, she alleges, is the 3rd time he is being disciplined for a single event. Public service announcement. United Way of Acadiana is offering free tax preparation. The United Way of Acadiana is offering free tax preparation services through its Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, VITA program. The program provides low and moderate income individuals and families with free, reliable assistance with filing federal tax returns. There are 12 filing locations participating this year throughout the Acadiana region. Most locations are by appointment only due to COVID-19 safety restrictions. Visit unitedwayofacadiana.org/VITA for site locations, opening dates, and to make appointments. For additional resources, visit myfreetaxes.com to learn more about alternate free or low-cost filing options currently available. The VITA program is just one way the United Way of Acadiana is working to help individuals and families achieve and maintain financial stability. Learn about additional programs by visiting unitedwayofacadiana.org. Acadiana news continued. A ban is sought on short-term rentals. Lafayette homeowners to ask zoning board to overturn the decision. By Claire Taylor, staff writer. Homeowners in Lafayette's Myrtle Place neighborhood are asking the city's Board of Zoning Adjustment on Thursday to overturn a decision by the Director of Development and Planning allowing the short-term rental of a house in their residential subdivision. The decision could ultimately determine whether short-term rentals, such as through Airbnb, would be allowed to continue in Lafayette, which has about 300 such rentals. Colby and John Longlinay and Gordon and Allison Scheffler, who own homes near the rental at 105 Poinsettia Drive, filed the appeal to the board. The property in question is owned by Bass Family Properties, whose officers include Aaron and Michael Bass of Lafayette and Catherine and Kenneth Bass of Denton, Texas. The Bass's Lafayette address is listed with the Louisiana Secretary of State's office as Iris Lane, several blocks from the house on Poinsettia Drive that they lease out through Airbnb. The City Council in September 2020 deferred indefinitely an ordinance that would have amended the Unified Development Code, defining short-term rentals and implementing reasonable regulations, particularly in single-family residential neighborhoods. The Planning Commission, after hearing concerns from neighbors, had added a requirement that the rental must be owner-occupied if it is in a single-family residential zone. The UDC has been replaced by the Lafayette Development Code. In documents provided to BOZA in advance of Thursday's meeting, including a petition opposed to Airbnb and signed by about 40 neighbors, the opposing homeowners said they have already been affected by the rental home and fear the development director's approval in this case will set a precedent for the entire city. After the department, under a previous director, issued a February 2020 violation letter to Bass Family Properties, Development Director Mary Slyman in November reversed course, writing that short-term rentals are allowed because they are neither expressly prohibited nor allowed in single-family residential zones. The homeowners appealing to her decision allege that it is a misinterpretation of the former UDC and Lafayette Development Code. The meeting will be at 5:30 p.m. Thursday at City Hall, 705 West University Avenue in Lafayette. Shelter pleas to get pets adopted by Kristen Askelson, staff writer. Herb Jones, director of the Iberia Parish Animal Control Shelter, said the shelter is not over capacity and staff members don't anticipate having to euthanize animals. However, he said, some animals have been there a long time and are desperate to get adopted. It's not the nicest place for an animal to spend its life, Jones said. We want them to get adopted so they can run and play and have the life they deserve. Jones was responding to a Monday morning Facebook post from the nonprofit Animals of IPAC, which assists the shelter in getting word out about adoptable animals. We are sad to make this post, but today is probably the last day for most of these dogs, the post read. We have begged and pleaded for months to save some of them, and unfortunately, they are still here. We have no empty kennels. Dogs are in the office, and we still have to go on pickups today. We will hold these dogs today, but tomorrow we are forced to make room. We don't want to euthanize, however, we have no other choice, unless we can rally up enough rescue and adopters for these animals. Jones said the social media site can be a blessing for the shelter, but also has disadvantages. We use social media to let the community know about our wonderful animals so they can see photos of them and call us if they are interested, Jones said. But people tend to make things dramatic, especially on social media. The shelter currently has 41 animals, said Jones, who's been director since January. He said the shelter is working with Acadiana Animal Aid and other rescues to help move some of the animals that have been there the longest. The shelter is open for adoptions Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. There is an $80 fee for dogs and a $50 fee for cats to cover the cost of vaccinating, spaying, or neutering the animals. Each animal that goes through the shelter is also microchipped. Available animals can be found at www.petango.com/IPAC. Jones said the shelter is open for in-person visits, but people are asked to call first to make an appointment. The shelter also has feral, community, outdoor-only cats available for free. They're all vaccinated and spayed or neutered. These cats make great barn or outdoor cats and work well as pest control, shelter officials said. The Iberia Parish Animal Control Shelter is located at 2017 Seaway Access Road between Acadiana Regional Airport and US 90 near the Iberia Parish Correctional Facility. Those with any questions about adopting a pet from the shelter may call 337-364-6311 between 7 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. A police report. A man overdosed in a car with 4 children. Loaded guns found in the back seat. The mom was present. By Megan Wyatt, staff writer. An Acadia Parish man who is accused of overdosing in a vehicle in front of 4 children who had access to loaded guns and drugs has since been released from jail. First responders gave Jeremy LeBlanc of Oberlin naloxone, which is better known by the brand name Narcan, on Saturday afternoon while responding to a 911 call about an active overdose situation, according to Crowley Police Chief Jimmy Broussard. Broussard was not sure who made the 911 call, but said the man's wife was in the vehicle with their 4 children when first responders and officers arrived on the scene. LeBlanc and his wife were seated at the front of the vehicle where cocaine laced with fentanyl was found, Broussard said. 4 children whose ages ranged from infancy to 13 years were found in the back seat of the vehicle with 3 loaded guns, the police chief said. A 10-year-old boy was holding an automatic rifle when officers assessed the situation, Broussard said. The gun was loaded with the safety off, according to police chief. And although the boy did not threaten responding officers, the boy did resist handing over the weapon he thought was his own. 2 loaded handguns were also found within reach of the children, Broussard said. We've seen so many horror stories about children with guns and what can happen, Broussard said. This could have turned out much worse if that child would not have released possession of the weapon. With it being loaded and ready, if the child would have mistakenly pulled that trigger, we would have had an extremely bad turnout. Broussard said he believes the children are still living with their mother, who he did not identify because she faces no criminal charges at this time. Broussard said she was cooperative with police and gave permission for officers to search the vehicle. Mom was scared, Broussard said. She was kind of scared over the whole thing. The mother was sober. She was straight. She was very coherent, but she was concerned about the whole situation, of course. The Louisiana Department of Children and Family Services is investigating the case, according to the police chief. The district attorney's office may also choose to pursue charges against the woman, he said. The children may also be in custody of their father, who posted bail after being booked into the Acadia Parish Jail on 2 counts of possession of Schedule II drugs and 3 counts of illegally carrying weapons. A spokesperson for the Department of Children and Family Services said the agency cannot confirm or deny that it is investigating the case. DCFS cannot comment on or even acknowledge the existence of a potential investigation of abuse or neglect involving a child, Catherine Swallow Heitman, the agency's communications director, wrote in an email. If there is an investigation, state laws make the entire process free from report to investigation to outcome confidential. Today in History by the Associated Press. Today is Tuesday, April 6th, the 96th day of 2021. There are 269 days left in the year. Today's highlight in history: on April 6, 1909, American explorers Robert E. Peary and Matthew A. Henson and 4 Inuits became the first men to reach the North Pole. On this date, in 1862, the Civil War Battle of Shiloh began in Tennessee as Confederate forces launched a surprise attack against Union troops who beat back the Confederates the next day. In 1896, the first modern Olympic Games formally opened in Athens, Greece. In 1917, the United States entered World War I as the House joined the Senate in approving a declaration of war against Germany that was then signed by President Woodrow Wilson. In 1945, during World War II, the Japanese warship Yamato and 9 other vessels sailed on a suicide mission to attack the U.S. fleet off Okinawa. The fleet was intercepted the next day. In 1954, Senator Joseph R. McCarthy, Republican of Wisconsin, responding to CBS newsman Edward R. Murrow's broadside against him on See It Now, said in remarks filmed for the program that Murrow had in the past engaged in propaganda for communist causes. In 1968, 41 people were killed by 2 consecutive natural gas explosions at a sporting goods store in downtown Richmond, Indiana. In 1985, William J. Schroeder became the first artificial heart recipient to be discharged from the hospital as he moved into an apartment in Louisville, Kentucky. In 2008, Democratic presidential candidate Barack Obama, speaking at a private fundraiser in San Francisco, spoke of voters in Pennsylvania's Rust Belt communities who cling to guns or religion because of bitterness about their economic lot. Democratic rival Hillary Rodham Clinton seized on the comment, calling it elitist. In 2017, Don Rickles, the big-mouthed, bald-headed Mr. Warren, whose verbal assaults endeared him to audiences and peers and made him the acknowledged grandmaster of insult comedy, died at his Beverly Hills home at the age of 90. 10 years ago, Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi appealed directly to President Barack Obama in a letter to end what Gaddafi called an unjust war. He also wished Obama good luck in his bid for re-election. 5 years ago, a federal judge in Charleston, West Virginia, sentenced former coal executive Don Blankenship to a year in prison for his role in the 2010 Upper Big Branch mine explosion that killed 29 men in America's deadliest mining disaster in 4 decades. Blankenship maintained that he had committed no crime. 1 year ago, hours after Democratic Governor Tony Evers issued an executive order postponing the following day's election for 2 months, the Wisconsin Supreme Court sided with Republicans in the state legislature who said Evers didn't have the authority to reschedule the race. The decision left Wisconsin as the only state proceeding with an April election amid the coronavirus outbreak. Today's birthdays: actor Billy D. Williams is 84. Actor Roy Tynes is 83. Movie director Barry Levinson is 79. Actor John Ratzenberger is 74. Actress Patricia Darbo is 73. Baseball Hall of Famer Bert Blyleven is 70. Actress Mary Lou Henner is 69. Olympic bronze medal figure skater Janet Lynn is 68. Actor Michael Roker is 66. Former U.S. Representative Michelle Bachmann, Republican of Minnesota, is 65. Rock musician Warren Haynes is 61. Rock singer-musician Blake Black Francis is 56. Actor Ari Myers is 52. Actor Paul Rudd is 52. Actor-producer Jason Hervey is 49. Actor Zach Braff is 46. Actor Joel Garland is 46. Actor Candace Cameron Burr is 45. Actor Teddy Sears is 44. Jazz and rhythm and blues musician Robert Glasper is 43. And actress Eliza Coupe is 40. Today's zodiac: Aries, March 21st to April 19th. Running your ideas by people who offer encouragement, along with common sense, will help you navigate your way through any pitfalls you encounter. Taurus, April 20th to May 20th. Keep your thoughts to yourself until you have a clear picture of how you want to proceed. A change made in haste will be met with obstacles. Gemini, May 21st to June 20th. Don't waste time. Size up your situation and make things happen. A chance to get ahead is coming, and preparation will help build the confidence you need to dazzle the powers that be. Cancer, June 21st to July 22nd. Concentrate on what you need to do to succeed. Refuse to let personal matters interfere with your professional responsibilities. Focus on contracts, money, and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Leo, July 23rd to August 22nd. Use your communication skills to your advantage. Get the lowdown and make decisions based on the facts you receive. A partnership that can help you advance looks promising. Virgo, August 23rd to September 22nd. Take a virtual class or set up an online interview. Take action if you want to bring about change. Don't make excuses when it's up to you to make things happen. Don't play the blame game. Libra, September 23rd to October 23rd. Take care of responsibilities and free up time to enjoy with a loved one. Don't make unnecessary purchases. Fitness and physical improvements are favored. Scorpio, October 24th to November 22nd. Put everything in place before you leap into action. Understanding what's possible will help you avoid a costly mistake. An innovative plan will require a strict budget. Sagittarius, November 23rd to December 21st. An emotional matter will cause you to overreact if you aren't careful. Size up whatever situation you face and put a strategy in place that will eliminate outside interference. Capricorn, December 22nd to January 19th. You'll face opposition if you initiate a change without going through the proper channels. Look for a positive way to get others on board, and you'll get the support and assistance you need. Aquarius, January 20th to February 19th. Focus on what you can do to add to your security. A money-making opportunity looks promising. Don't miss out because you've taken on responsibilities that don't belong to you. Pisces, February 20th to March 20th. Keep your plans secret and you'll avoid a disagreement. Do something energetic if you feel stressed or anxious. Don't make a premature move in an emotional situation. Time is on your side. The horoscope, an entertainment feature, is not based on scientific fact. In state news, lawmakers take aim at transgender athletes. Proposed legislation restricts participation and access to treatments, by Blake Patterson, staff writer. Transgender athletes would be barred from participating in girls' or women's sports at public schools under a proposal filed last week by a group of GOP state lawmakers, adding Louisiana to a growing list of legislatures considering restrictions on transgender rights. The law, as proposed, mirrors dozens of other laws introduced across the country in recent months and would require that athletic teams for women at public institutions be composed of only cisgendered biological females or those women whose internal psychological gender identity matches the sex they were assigned at birth. State Representative Beryl Amadei, Republican of Houma, the lead sponsor of House Bill 542, said it isn't fair to let people who are biologically male compete against female on women's teams. When pressed, Amadei couldn't cite a single example in Louisiana where transgender participation in sports had created a problem. I'm sure we've had some instance of transgender students playing on teams, but apparently it hadn't risen to the point where it caused a problem, Amadei said, adding that the legislation is a proactive measure. Dylan Wagaspak, president of Louisiana Trans Advocates, described the measure as a solution in search of a problem. part of a broader political campaign to denigrate a minority group that already faces heightened levels of stigma, bullying, and discrimination. The bill would be considered during the legislative session beginning April 12th, along with another proposal that requires transgender minors first receive written consent from both parental guardians. The third bill would ban such treatments for minors outright and tack penalties of up to 2 years imprisonment or $10,000 in fines for healthcare providers that go against the law. A similar proposal was vetoed on Monday by Arkansas's GOP governor. These bills aren't being introduced to solve a real problem, Wagaspack said. If they're not good faith solutions to real problems, I can only guess we're having this conversation to make it harder to be a trans young person in Louisiana. The text of the legislation, versions of which were introduced in both the House and Senate, argues that transgender girls, because they were born male, are naturally stronger, faster, and bigger than those born female. Senator Beth Mazzell, a Republican of Franklinton, another lead sponsor, did not return requests for comment. It's unclear how many transgender athletes would be impacted if the bill succeeds. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention estimates that as many as 1 in 50 high school students identify as transgender. The Louisiana High School Athletic Association requires transgender athletes undergo sterilization or surgery if they want to compete, restrictions that have resulted in 0 trans players at that level. Wagaspack said. He noted that such surgical interventions are rarely recommended for minors. The Athletic Association did not return a request for comment. The legislation would more likely impact children in kindergarten through 8th grade, Wagaspack said, adding that sports is a way to get exercise, to stay healthy, to develop the sort of characteristics we hope to see in leaders, and that transgender children deserve the opportunities just as much as any other child. Another bill proposed by State Senator Mike Fessy, a Republican of Houma, would require transgender youth receive written consent from both parents to receive hormones, puberty blockers, or other gender-affirming therapy, including counseling or psychotherapy. Wagaspack said access to puberty blockers and hormone therapies have been shown to replace suicide in transgender youth, and in many cases are life-saving treatments. Puberty blockers, which are reversible, delay the onset of puberty, giving minors who are questioning their gender time to explore their identity before undergoing the irreversible effects of puberty, Wagaspack said. A final bill sponsored by Michael Gabe Furman, Republican of Pollock, takes the extra step of adding criminal penalties for providers that offer such treatment as surgeries, except in cases where one is born with ambiguous genitals, irregular chromosomes, or testicular or ovarian issues. Furman declined to comment. Chris Kaiser, the advocacy director at the ACLU of Louisiana, said it's unlikely that any of the legislation would survive legal challenges, noting that federal courts have been consistent and clear that federal law protects transgender people. The only law implemented banning transgender women in sports in Idaho was struck down by a federal judge in August. These are not coming from organizations that specialize with working with transgender people in education or healthcare system or with women in sports, Kaiser said. They are political attacks and they are brazenly discriminatory. $405 million in Louisiana unemployment benefits were sent to ineligible people by Mark Ballard and Kristen Mossbrucker, staff writers. Nearly 100,000 people receiving $405.3 million in unemployment benefits to which they were not entitled, and the numbers are probably much larger, the Louisiana Legislative Auditor's Office reported Monday. It's a finding that the Louisiana Workforce Commission, the agency that handles benefits for workers laid off from their jobs, does not dispute. The commission stated that it would continue to seek repayments from those who may have mistakenly been overpaid because of delays in reporting the unemployed person's salary and work history. But fraud is at the root of a significant amount of the overpayments, the agency's leader said. The additional $600 in federal pandemic unemployment compensation added to unemployment benefits through the CARES Act, then the additional $300 of lost wage assistance, and then the FPUC reinstated at $300 with Continued Assistance Act that was extended with the American Rescue Plan, greatly incentivized countless criminal enterprises and bad actors to take advantage of already overwhelmed state workforce, wrote Ava Dejo, Secretary of the Louisiana Workforce Commission, in response to the audit findings. In the last 14 months, the LWC has processed almost 1 million applications, stopped 2 large fraud attempts, and reported numerous fraud and identity theft issues to law enforcement, while also processing 9 different types of unemployment insurance, each with their own unique rules and requirements, Dejo said in a news release. Since March of last year, the Workforce Commission has paid over $8 billion in unemployment insurance benefit to almost 1 million people, over 1 billion since the start of 2021. The significant increase in the number of applicants due to the COVID-19 pandemic, coupled with legislative action that gave employers additional time to submit their wage reports, hampered the Commission's ability to timely verify that the income self-reported by individuals on their applications was accurate, Dejo said. We are weeks away from implementing a new identity verification system, which will greatly reduce the strain that these identity theft scheme frauds have placed on our resources and will help us shift more attention back to other types of fraud cases, she said. The number of improperly paid individuals reported in the auditor's analysis is underestimated, said Chris McGee, the office's performance audit data analytics manager. The $405.3 million of improper payments is but a fraction of what it could be. Auditors identified 97,585 people who received benefits despite being employed for all 3 months of a quarter. But the unemployment insurance data provided by the Louisiana Workforce Commission to the state auditor ends in mid-August 2020, according to the report. That means it doesn't include information about a potential surge of suspected fraudulent claims discovered in mid-November. Because of the mountain of paperwork created by the pandemic, the Workforce Commission could only provide paperwork for applications until August 15. Claims of fraud began increasing in November. The pandemic conditions, combined with the sheer influx of applications, up 2,000%, led to that situation. So much paperwork, so many requirements, so much to process led to a backlog, McGee said, adding that the Commission was working to gather later documentation, which would allow auditors to revisit the issue in a future report. McGee said the office launched its investigation after national reports showed high rates of unemployed people receiving benefits fraudulently or that they didn't deserve. Dozens of residents across the state have shared experiences of getting letters for unemployment benefits and even debit cards sent to their home address to people they don't know for benefits they never requested. The benefits agency previously asserted that even if people got letters or debit cards, it doesn't mean benefits were improperly distributed. And even so, the money can be clawed back. Payment on more than 30,000 claims filed over a 2-week period in November were halted for review by the benefits agency and reviewed for validity. There were 43,618 new unemployment claims filed for the week ending November 14, compared with only 10,000 1 week before. There were another 39,500 new pandemic unemployment assistance claims filed that same week, roughly 3 times the number of applications 1 week before. The number of applications for unemployment benefits skyrocketed during the COVID-19 pandemic, which led to businesses losing income as a result of stay-at-home and social distancing orders. A total of $6.87 billion in payments were made to 694,391 people from March 28, 2020 through December 31st. Louisiana's seasonally adjusted unemployment rate grew from 5.2% in February 2020 to 13.1% in April 2020. The total number of unemployment claims increased by more than 2,000%, from 16,798 on February 29, 2020, to 366,798 on April 25, 2020. Our commitment and tenacity will not cease, Dejo said. We've seen an incredible amount of need during the COVID-19 pandemic, and our number one priority from the beginning has been making sure that people who are eligible for benefits receive them. We know that things like unreported Paycheck Protection Program wages, vaccination, and sick time have been consistent issues. That being said, the most important thing for us has been making sure that people have a roof over their head and food on their tables. The U.S. Department of Labor tracks state unemployment office accuracy each year. The improper payment rate before the pandemic began was 3.6% in Georgia and 30.5% in Michigan, according to the U.S. Department of Labor data collected between April 2019 and March 2020. The U.S. average was 8.8% over that 12-month span. Before the pandemic, the improper payment rate during the same time frame for Louisiana was 9.8%, or $122.5 million. In sports, the surging Cajuns welcome Nichols by Nick Fontenot, contributing writer. UL's 3 wins this weekend against UL Monroe tell a broader story than just a sweep of the Warhawks heading into a non-conference home game against Nicholls State at 6 p.m. Tuesday at Russo Park. In fact, the story started to take shape last weekend with a 2-1 series win over Coastal Carolina. Raging Cajuns coach Matt Degg said his baseball team is not a finished product, but the 5-1 Sun Belt Conference start is promising as the Cajuns enter the heart of the conference schedule. You are always growing and maturing and hopefully turning into a complete ball club, Degg said. I think we've taken a step in that direction over the last 2 weeks. Right fielder Carson Rockfart, who set a school record Thursday with 5 stolen bases in a 9-5 win, said he has noticed a change in the team's chemistry in conference play. Everybody is getting close to one another and playing together as a team, Rockford said. We are starting to execute every aspect of the game, and I think it's really coming together for us. Tyler Robertson, who went 2 for 5 with a double Saturday, said he thinks the resurgence in the lineup has come from getting back to a simple approach. For a little bit, we got away from our approach and we were striking out a lot, Robertson said. In the past 2 weeks, we've stuck to our approach and we're seeing better pitchers. We've been walking more with 2 strikes and having a really good approach at the plate. The series finale saw the Cajuns fall behind 9-2 before exploding for 6 runs in the 6th inning and 3 more in the 7th. Degg said none of the 3 wins against ULM were easy and that the 11-9 come from behind win Saturday taught him a lot about his team. ULM is a much improved team and they're going to beat a lot of teams, Degg said. We pitched well and swung well in the first one, and Friday we won a close one. I think the only thing missing was a comeback win. That's what we needed, and we got that Saturday. To come back in that fashion is gigantic for your confidence. Deggs acknowledged that the win would not have been possible with Dave Christie, who came in after ULM knocked out the first 3 Cajun pitchers. Christie did not allow an earned run over 5 relief innings while striking out 6. Degg said the makeup of the Cajuns this year allows for a bevy of different players to play the hero role. David gave us a chance to win that ball game, Degg said. We kept going to guys and ultimately gave it to David, and him being able to mix 3 pitches kept them off balance. There are a lot of different heroes on this team, and some days it's your chance to shine. David did that Saturday. The Cajuns beat Nichols 9-8 in Thibodaux earlier this season. Nichols scored 4 runs in the 8th inning to make the game closer than it needed to be. Robertson said the key to beating the Colonels will be to not let up if they get ahead. They're a really good team and they're scrappy, Robertson said. If we can get up on them, we need to keep our foot on the gas pedal and not let them back into it. Degg said he is finally seeing the grit he's known the Cajuns have since fall ball come out on the diamond. He said Sunday's comeback win can be a catalyst for breakthroughs the rest of the season. I think what was lacking on our resume was a big comeback win, Degg said. We finally broke through. These guys really enjoy each other and they play for each other. When they want to do their job for one another, that is when it really gets good. Funerals today in the Acadiana area. Annie Clement at the Delone Chapel of the Flowers, 1011 Bertrand Drive, Lafayette at 1 p.m. May Underwood, First Presbyterian Church in Cartersville, Georgia at 2 p.m. This has been Local News Live for April the 4th, 2021. I've been your reader, Robert Richard. Join us at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday on AOC 1, Cypress Street Radio, or the AOC Community Media channel on YouTube. You can read these stories and more at theadvocate.com and find out how to volunteer and more at aocinc.org. Have a wonderful day.